Hey there, welcome to the lecture on social Darwinism. Now this is a term that once you might not have heard before. If you have, great. But if you have not, this is a term that it's one of those things that once you hear about it, then you begin to notice it in other contexts that you might have actually been exposed to but just didn't notice because you were never made aware of it. So social Darwinism is a very interesting concept. The first thing you want to understand about social Darwinism is that during the time that we're looking at, between basically the 1860s and the early 20th century, people didn't go around calling themselves social Darwinists. The term gained currency, that is, people began to use it after this scholar, sociologist named Richard Hofstadter published a book and popularized the image, and immediately people understood exactly what he was talking about. So it's a reflection on the time to try to explain the time. So understand that aspect of social Darwinists. Basically, social Darwinism is a perversion of Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, of natural selection. So I do provide a video. Let's see, I think it's in here actually. Let's take a look. In Learning Objective 2 for Social Darwinism, if you go down here, I explain it in the text, but you get, I think, a richer view from this biologist right here. She explains in a briefly short amount of time, I think this is no more than 5 minutes, exactly what natural selection is. I could go into it right now, but I don't want to do that because I try to keep these at least within 5 to 6 minutes. And I would need 5 minutes just to explain natural selection. But do watch that. That'll provide a good basis. And then you'll be able to better understand how social Darwinism, which is different than natural selection, is mapped on to explain how the changing environment of the Industrial Revolution, and really, really appreciate that, the rapid change. We kind of see it as normal because, well, we were born into it. But this is a developing phenomena happening to the people living at this time. The people that are able to rise up within that environment, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Andrew Mellons, these folks right here, are seen as those that obviously have natural attributes that can transcend the harsh environment. And since they have that, we want to preserve that kind of idea. So this is basically what social Darwinism is getting at. And conversely, when you look at the poor, well, obviously they deserve to be poor since they didn't work hard enough. Now, when you watch the triangle waste fire in the progressive era, which will be coming up at one of the latter lectures, you'll get a sense that poor folks knew how to work hard. It wasn't a lack of working. They weren't sitting around just waiting for a paycheck from the government. They were working incredibly hard, long hours. But social Darwinism was a way of justifying, of rationalizing abject poverty in the proximity, and you'll also get a sense of that too in the Triangle Waste Fire documentary, in the proximity, very close to wealthy neighborhoods. So one block, slums, factories, foul water. The next block, beautiful marble buildings, architecture that go with columns that rise up into the skyline. Amazing stuff. So social Darwinism, and these people would interact with the poor, and so nobody wants to see being seen as a jerk, right? So you need to come up with a rationale for, well, why do I have wealth and they don't even have enough to eat to feed their families? So that was what was at play there, and social Darwinism makes an attempt to describe that situation. So yeah, 4 learning objectives. Let's go back here. Learning objective 2, part of the lecture. Learning objective 3 is a way of seeing how the consequences of social Darwinism. And what you're going to learn here is that, and be aware of this. So I go into this further in the progressive era, but corporations are considered legal persons. Strange concept, but take a look at these videos. It's from a documentary called The Corporation, and I'll tell you a little bit about legal personhood and the consequences of it. Okay, learning objective 4 is looking at probably the epitome of what a social Darwinistic environment produced, John D. Rockefeller. So that goes into that. And then I have you take a look at Ayn Rand. She was a a novelist and made an attempt at philosophy with her so-called objectivism. She really does exemplify the tenets of social Darwinism, and you'll get a good sense of this from this early interview with Mike Wallace looking at that. So be sure to address this is basically a way of letting me know that you fully understand the tenets of social Darwinism, because they don't use the term social Darwinism here, but if you understand the basic foundations of social Darwinism, you will be able to recognize it in what Ayn Rand is saying here. And the reason why I use Ayn Rand here is because she's incredibly influential to the current members of Congress today, particularly the Republican Party, but although there are some Democrats that are also as influenced. So much so that one of the presidential candidates, Senator Rand Paul, right, son of Ron Paul, right? Ron Paul named his son after Ayn Rand. The last name of Ayn Rand is the first name of the current senator who's running for president, right? And he definitely values much of what Ayn Rand says. So understand how much of an influence she has today, and see what you think.